Just be yourself. Just be confident. That's mainstream advice that's driven a lot of men into desperation. If you want to find the right girlfriend or a wife, you have to understand that you can't just be yourself. In this video, I'm going to make an argument for and against being yourself. Let's start with the argument for being yourself. What would be a good reason to be yourself? Well, authenticity. How on earth are you going to have a relationship that's based on eye level, that's supposed to last perhaps a lifetime, if you can't truly show your personality, your quirks, your weirdness, who you truly are? If you can't really show that, well, that would be a good argument for being yourself. That's probably the only argument, because if you can't be authentically you, you will eventually feel like you're not communicating your own needs, and you will suffocate. Your self-esteem will suffer. So you absolutely have to be yourself. But the problem with telling somebody to just be yourself or just be confident is that it's the exact same thing as saying just be rich. Yes, but how? It is not practical. It's the same type of advice that people post on Instagram. It's those motivational quotes. And if you ever notice, most of the people who post that, the second they're posting it, they're actually trying to motivate themselves. And I don't even have a problem with that, because once we venture out into personal development, we all start reading some of these quotes. We get into books and we want to share that. And it's partially to motivate our own self. And it's good because it's one of the layers of development in the beginning. But it definitely isn't what's truly gonna get you there. Because if we look at just being yourself from the perspective of authenticity, or if we equate it with authenticity, then we also have to understand that calibration feeds into authenticity. If you see a lady here in Malaga Beach and you walk up to her and you say, "You're absolutely beautiful, que guapo eres cojones," or guapa, whatever, and you tell her, "I would like to sleep with you tonight," that would be very honest. That would be super honest. You would truly be yourself in that moment, wouldn't you? Yes, but it's not calibrated. The probability of success is rather low. It's the same thing as walking up to a lady and immediately asking her for her number. That's what you hear in the mainstream zone these days. Oh, if they actually do encourage you to go and ask somebody, when introduce yourself to a lady, they say, oh, ask her for her number. It doesn't work to simply ask somebody for the number immediately. You actually have to speak with her for 3 to 7 minutes, and there's a lot of magic that happens in those 3 to 7 minutes. You can't just walk up to her and boom, go for the close immediately. That's like in sales. First conversation, 5 minutes. Okay, so you want to buy? Well, there's a bit of a courting process that's involved in this. So being yourself, absolutely. And if I just take the other side again for a second, it is necessary. And especially so because most of you don't even realize how filtered you are. You probably don't even realize how much you're not sharing your honest and authentic colors. Because in your professional environment, you have been rewarded for being filtered and overthinking and being extremely concise with your speech, not making illogical statements. And trust me, I'm German. I really understand what that's like. I've worked for a big tech company, for a big corporation in Dublin. I really understand what it's like. But you have to understand that if you truly want to get somebody excited about you, if you want to get a lady excited about you, you have to create emotional spikes. And you'll only be able to create emotional spikes within her if you say things most people wouldn't dare to say, if you stand out. And you have thoughts, feelings, and opinions that are not politically correct, where if you were to share them with her, not in an interview style, where you're asking her questions to see whether she agrees with your values, not in an aggressive fashion, but in an authentic way, where if you were to actually share them with her, woo, she'd get excited. Now, there's storytelling, and there's ways in which that needs to be done properly. But if you were to just radically honestly communicate what you actually believe, it would create a whole degree of attraction that you probably haven't felt in a woman before, haven't seen in the eyes of a lady before. Why? Well, because most men are too scared to ask for that. You're standing right in front of the sun right now. Most men are too scared to really push the buttons. And you're not pushing the buttons for the sake of pushing the buttons, but you're pushing her buttons as a result of truly not being afraid to lose her. And that's what most women haven't experienced. Women almost always, when they're talking to a man, they experience somebody who's so filtered in his expression, who's so in his shell that he just comes across like a weak little bitch. Let's call a spade a spade. That's what it is. That's what you come across. You come across like a little bitch. Even if you're killing it in business, even if you're killing it in a career, and trust me, I've had clients from 30, 32 countries over the years now, most of them with really good careers, business owners, and they can be slain in that area. But when you're talking to a lady, you come across completely weak. Or maybe women feel really comfortable around you, but they just don't take you serious as a man. They don't see you as a potential lover. You're like, he's a good friend. Maybe he can be a provider, but I'll never see him as a masculine man because he doesn't show up with that type of energy. And one manifestation thereof is being yourself. It is being raw and unfiltered. So that is, again, an argument for being yourself. But as I alluded to earlier, one of my university professors once said that the quality of a relationship can be measured by the depth of the teeth marks on your lips. How many times did you have to bite your tongue when you were actually going to say something and then you didn't say it? So there is a fine line between being too filtered and not being filtered enough. So if you imagine a spectrum, on the one hand, you have extremely filtered, where you're basically a robot, you're just regurgitating the propaganda that was put in your head. And on the other hand, you're so raw and authentic that you're not even relatable anymore. You're probably too far on this side. It's not about going all the way over here, because then you can't be a functioning member of society anymore. But if you move a little bit in that direction, that would do you well, because the best relationships you'll ever have, they come as a result of connecting over what you agree with. In the mainstream, there's the saying that opposites attract. Nonsense. Polarization attracts her, realizing that you're carefreely expressing yourself because you're not afraid to lose her. That creates attraction. But retention, for the sake of a relationship, is created through having things in common. The people you like the most, you have your fundamental values in common. Your personalities are compatible. Opposites do not help. Your fundamental values have to be aligned. So this is all an argument for being just yourself. But it's not that easy, because sometimes you might say something where you think, wasn't this authentic? No, you actually just insulted her. So that's why it's important to get a little bit of feedback from, can be coaches, can be mentors, can be other areas, other people who've achieved the result you want to have, and ideally who've helped people create the result they want to have in their own lives as well. So it's very important that you look at the detail, because just being yourself is such a generic statement. There's no nuance. And if you want to have really good and really fast results, and if you want to be effective in your communication with women, you need to look at each individual situation. That's why coaching is extremely important. Apply for a free initial consultation call if you'd like our help with it. There are free resources out there. But the problem with just consuming YouTube videos, and YouTube videos are obviously amazing, but the problem with just doing that is that nobody will be able to take a look at your situation. Because there's a situation where in one moment I'd say, okay, you got to be more raw, you got to be more unfiltered. And in another situation, I'd say, well, look, that actually wasn't calibrated at all. You insulted her, or you prematurely escalated, or you made one of a whole host of mistakes that you could be making. Because again, the fact of the matter is that you currently have blind spots in your communication. That's a fact. If you didn't have those blind spots, you'd have amazing dates, or you'd have an amazing relationship. You'd have that girlfriend or wife. If you don't have it, there's blind spots in your communication. It's communication, confidence, and understanding of the dynamics. That is all it takes. There's nothing wrong with you as a man, really nothing. But there's these blind spots that you have to commit yourself to curing, where if you don't do that, you're going to keep repeating the same patterns. And what's the definition of insanity? The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result. So yes, become way more radically honestly, and you'll see that the quality of your relationships is going to improve greatly. But nuance is also required. And there's only two ways to learn things in life. You can learn things by yourself through a shit ton of experience, and I think you can learn all this by yourself. It will take you 7 to 9 years or whatever, 25 hours a week. That's about what that would take, genuine estimate. Or you get help. And it can be me, it doesn't have to be me, but I would encourage you to really get some help in this area, because how much more time do you want to waste? How much more time do you want to waste with the wrong people? Because you can consume free knowledge all day long. And in my experience, 1% of the people who consume free videos, we have 2,500 short form videos, hundreds of YouTube videos, 1% of them take action. And I get messages from people who say they've consumed all of the free stuff and now they're in an amazing relationship. That's awesome. It's usually just 1%, because they're and then again, you could make an argument, are they really in a really good relationship? What's the quality of it really like? Now, I take their word for it, obviously, if they tell me that things are going great, and that's good. But there are plenty of men who think they're in a happy relationship. I used to think so, with my ex-wife in the beginning at least. And it wasn't really that amazing. It was really just that I was too afraid to step into conflict. And I was avoiding conflict. So you could make an argument that they're just thinking that things are going well, but they're not even expressing their needs. But even if we were to say, okay, 1% of people actually take action and they're able to implement the free advice in a way that it actually gets them there, most people can't. Because there are things that you're doing well with women right now that you're not even aware of. You have certain unconscious competencies. Then there's things you're doing well that you are aware of, conscious competencies. Then there's things you're fucking up that you know you're fucking up. And then there's things you don't know that you don't even know. That's blind spots. What is it? What's the technical term? It's a scotoma, I believe. That's the technical term in psychology for this, scotoma, a blind spot. And these are things that you're not aware of. Oh, okay, maybe my zip is open. I'm not aware of it. It's in a point where I can't see it. That's why we need external feedback. And external feedback can also come, not just from coaches and mentors, but women themselves. Not by asking them for advice. Don't ask women for advice. Don't ask anybody for dating advice, because they just have opinions and they don't actually know what they're talking about, really. But you're going to get feedback by the quality of the interactions. If you go and meet a lot of women online, if you go and meet a lot of women in person, you introduce yourself, you work on your approaches in person at night, again, you send Instagram messages, you're on dating apps, but you actually have a lot of dates, and then you see how they're reacting. And then you can see how are things going. And then some people are going to be able to draw inferences, but there are things you're not even, oftentimes things that you're not even aware of. What caused her to lose interest in that moment? Oh, it was this one thing you said. Literally one sentence. Have you ever had that? You're in a conversation with somebody and they say one sentence that rubs you a bit the wrong way, and it creates like 20-30% of a negative emotional spike in you that makes you less likely to want to engage with that person again. Same thing. And maybe it wasn't even ill-intended. Maybe there wasn't even any ill intent coming from that person whatsoever. But the effect was still the same. So here's my offer. Take a lot of action. Get out there. Approach women in person, Instagram, online dating. I don't care where your wife is going to come from. Whether it's going to come from an online dating match or Instagram or an in-person approach. I'm pretty agnostic to it. But I do know that socializing in person and being able to do an approaching somebody that you see during the day in an authentic and calibrated way is a skill set 99% of men don't have. And men tell themselves that they do have it, but they really don't. I was talking to Dubai Radio almost 2 years ago, Dubai Radio. And I was saying to the lady, most men think they're good at two things. Most men think they're good at fighting, and they think they're good at talking to women. I'm not a professional fighter, really not, but I trained karate for 6 years, 4 to 7 times a week. Put a pair of boxing gloves on most men, and they are so instantaneously, monumentally fucked, it's actually hilarious. Ask 99% of men to do an approach during the day or in a bar without being drunk or on other drugs. They will not be able to do it. What do most men do? They have their beer pressed to their tits, getting drunk, a couple of pints, and then a lady walks by, and then the one approach they do that night is her walking by and they say, hey, you look pretty, I like your hair. They blurb out a random, completely uncalibrated sentence that doesn't offer any value, that doesn't take her experience of the situation into consideration whatsoever, and then that's the thing they're going to talk about with the lads all night long. That's it. Well, no wonder you don't get results. You just never done it. You've never done it. And you're so close to a lot of success. You're so close to finding an amazing girlfriend, life partner, or wife, because 95% of the work is already done. That's the beautiful thing. You're already somebody, whether you're young and ambitious, you're old and rich, or anything in between. Because the people who come to me, the people who watch this, they are ambitious, they have a drive, they want to achieve something, they're in personal development, maybe you're on your own business, maybe you have a good career, whatever, wherever you happen to be. You've already done so much, you've already separated yourself from so many people. You're already the type of man who's inherently worthy of being in an amazing relationship. You don't need to change anything about who you are. It's just your confidence, your communication, and an understanding of the dynamics. And that's something that you can develop now or you can wait 10 years. But let me ask you this, how many people do you actually know that are in happy relationships? Not just in a relationship. Because if the only criteria for success was to be in a relationship, well, then there'd be plenty of people who would meet that criteria, but evidently we know that's not the case. Evidently we know that there's many men and women who are in relationships where they suffer tremendously. So let me ask you this, how many men do you actually know that are in a relationship with a woman they're physically really attracted to, who has a great personality they're compatible with, and who's really intelligent? Not that many, is it? Why is that? Well, because it's a skill set we haven't been taught. And I really want it for you because it's so beautiful. Fernando and I were here in Malaga, getting a little bit of sun, escaped Dublin. Dublin is amazing, absolutely fantastic, but the weather is just, so we decided to come here. And I would like for you to be able to travel with somebody. I want you to have high quality male friends, because the science is very clear that the #1 predictor for human happiness is relationships. You can do all the experiences in the world, and you can go and meditate, and you can do all of that, silent meditation retreats. That's all fantastic. I'm a huge fan of that. But eventually you're gonna need people. And coming back to why just being yourself is actually a good thing, or rather, being yourself is a good thing, the just is actually the problem. I've never thought about it. This is actually genius. Being yourself is amazing. Just being yourself, that's where the error lies. But that is an argument for being just yourself, because to have high quality relationships, you need radical honesty. And you don't even know how much you're filtering yourself. And in order to realize how much you're filtering yourself and to be able to let go of that, you need to introduce yourself to a lot of people. Not a crazy amount, but socializing in general is really good for you. And I know most of you are introverted. I get it. 80% of my clients are introverts. That's fine. And there's this myth in modern science that introverts get energy from social interactions, and introverts lose energy from social interactions and extroverts gain energy from social interactions. That's absolute nonsense. Because if that statement in and of itself was true, it would mean that anytime an introvert, and Fernando is, what are you, 98% introvert or something like that? Anytime they interact, anytime you interact with another person, it drains you, every time. So you're better off isolating yourself 16 hours a day and sleeping 8 hours. Well, evidently that's not the case. So Andrew Huberman says that the only scientifically documented difference between introverts and extroverts is the fact that introverts get more dopamine from social interactions than extroverts. Think about that. Introverts get more dopamine, and you might say, well, that's counterintuitive. Not really. You're satiated quicker, so you need less, but you still need it. We all have a need for love and connection. We all do. It's just extroverts, they are getting the dopamine a little bit more dripped, whereas you're getting a lot more of it in a short period of time. So you need less, but we all need it. And you've realized also that it's not just social contact, but that it's social contact with the right people. Because if, Gary Vee said this the other day, and it's actually amazing, if your friends don't make you happy, they're not your friends. Let me say that again. If your friends don't make you happy, they're not your friends. And everybody's gonna make a mistake at some point. Fine, we have to be a little bit forgiving with each other, but most of the time, do they want to see me win? Do they want the best for me? Are they open to feedback? Can they apologize when they did something wrong? Are they there for me on the tough days? Do they have a vested interest in my well-being and my success or not? Or do their ego gets triggered every single time I share a win with them? Are their values aligned? Having these people in your life is the greatest source of happiness. Absolutely, yes, you have to be on your path as a man, and you need a compelling future. Because in order to perform effectively on dates, and life is a performance, dates are a performance. Not to say that you're putting on an act to pretend to be somebody you're not, but you want to show up in the strongest way possible. To be able to perform at that level, you have to have a future planned that's better than today. You have to have the belief that the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. Because it doesn't matter where you get in your career or your business, you've experienced this before. You hit a plateau, you reach a level of success, and you're like, is this all there is? Maybe. Maybe it's amazing for a period of time, for a couple of weeks, couple of months, and then it gets boring, and then you stagnate. And then you realize you either grow or you deteriorate and you die. Things do not stay the same. So yes, you need a compelling vision for where you're gonna be. What's next? How can I help somebody? Right? That gives you energy. That is actually a really important principle, because if you go on a date and you're not that excited about your life, well, your performance won't be that great either. And it doesn't mean you need to make grand changes. But even if you were to just ask yourself today, hey, what am I actually excited about? What's next for me? What are my goals for the next 6 to 12 years? Next 6 to 12 months. What am I really after? Who do I want to help? What am I excited about? am I doing a lot of things on a daily basis that I actually enjoy doing? Because then you're going to bring a level of energy to the date that she hasn't seen before. So there's more to it, as you can see. But that's a mental exercise that you can do in 7 minutes. In 7 minutes, you can write down a goal and you can already create a degree of excitement you haven't felt in a long time. Obviously, you want to change your physiology, you want to change your state, because if you're in a half stressed, half frustrated state and then you're thinking about a future, well, you don't have the energy available to even create a compelling future, right? So there's a lot of things that tie into it. But I would encourage you to go out there, get a lot of experience, be yourself. Don't just be yourself, because you also want to be calibrated. And if you want our help with that, apply for a free initial consultation call. Wish you all the best. Take care.